Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to run your MSP, whether you're a nimble MSP or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, my partners in crime. We have none other than Mr. Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how are you today?
Doing okay, doing okay. Got to work with the virtual background, so you might see some of my gestures. Oh, you do see them. And some you might not. But doing okay here in New Jersey as the summer winds down. And I'll say, I don't know if I'm happy or sad about that.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. And then we got the man on the move. If you have not seen him in many of his appearances throughout the whole U.S., he is not just Dallas's own. We got Corey Kirkendoll over at 5K Technical Services. Corey, how are you doing today, my friend?
Man, I'm doing well, man. Doing well. We had 3-digit temperatures for the last month, man, and we got a cold front. So we went all the way down to like the low to mid 80s, man. So I don't know what's up with that, man. I might have to pull out a jacket. Nah, it's gonna happen. Still hot. But it's all
Cold
good.
front.
It's all good. Yeah, cold
front in the 80s.
cold front in the 80s, man. I'll take it any day.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, for us, it's about a little bit of the 60s. We've been loving that little bit of weather. It's been good, enjoying it. And then going into this long weekend as we record this for Labor Day. But, before we go into our tip, trick, or story, there's an event coming up. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about what's important to us about our last road show, and that is TechCon Unplugged in Dallas. We're going to be over at the Las Colinas Marriott. It's going to be a great, great time. I think we've had a really amazing time meeting with a lot of great new MSPs over in the last two stops that we just did. But gentlemen, curious on your insights, your takes, what are you excited most about TechCon coming up here in a couple weeks?
Yeah, for me, man, jump out there. Everybody's in this. I'm a big Cowboys fan, just like Rick. So if you guys need to come and get some therapy, man, and come and hang out and get a hug, this is the time to come out, man. This is the best thing that's gonna happen, right? We're gonna overshadow what's happening with Micah Parsons getting traded. But I'll be honest with you, man. Dallas is a great spot, man. A lot of love out here, a lot of MSPs. I'm looking forward to obviously being in my hometown and be able to support out, but again, man, keep carrying that torch of helping MSPs become better. Because, like I say, when we all get better, man, we all rise together and we fall together, man. So there's opportunity to help people keep rising for sure.
That's awesome.
And like Paco said earlier, we got the opportunity in Jersey and in Chicago to meet a lot of new MSPs, both new MSPs in the business and also new MSPs to us, just meeting other people to expand basically our community, and our our friendships and knowledge. So I'm looking forward to that, getting out to Dallas, Texas, meeting some people I haven't met before, getting some different perspectives we haven't seen, hopefully being able to help them and receive some good valid information from the presentations and the people that we meet. So that's what TechCon's all about, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my biggest real interest is our pre-event. I think this is now the first time that Mr. Juan Fernandez has done a session after being on the vendor side, and now is becoming on a true MSP yet again, and going through his session of what are you going to do when what you don't do is no longer the thing you do anymore. And I'll say that 3 times fast. So, and it's a new session. He hasn't come out with that talk yet. I've been in talks with him, obviously, for obvious reasons. And so he's, if you ever been to a session of his, he always drops the heat, right? And he actually does really well on really driving home that tangible value that we try to get and on that hallway conversation. So I'm very curious to see what he got all for us. That's what I'm looking forward to for us down in Dallas, and the good old networking, because you know what I like to say, Mr. Smith, that I've been saying for many, many years, it's where the magic happens, boy. So if that's something of interest to you, please head over to Eventbrite or techconunplugged.com. Click on Dallas. Again, this is our last pit stop of the year. It's going to be our closeout show. It's going to be proving to be a very great one indeed. And maybe, just maybe, we may have an announcement for you of next year of where TechCon's going to go from there. But stay tuned, attend, and we will see you there. That's September 12th, coming up here in a few weeks at the Marriott in Las Colinas. All right, gentlemen. It's been a while that we've been able to get all together and are talking heads. I usually we'll start off with a tip, trick, or story, but I think this is an opportunity for us to kind of play catch up. I think this has been a while, since about maybe June, that our audience has heard up from us specifically, and us being able to kind of go through our experiences. I think there's a lot of changes that have occurred since we've last talked. So I kind of lob it over to maybe one of you on what's been happening since June. What are some updates, maybe some life updates, maybe some things that have affected your business, or maybe even some new endeavors that you may have been going into and trying to grow and expand to help the community that we are listening in this fine programming.
No, that's what's up, man. Yeah, I'll jump out there first, always. Yeah, I think I'm taking a page out of Rick's book, man. He just finished paying his last tuition. I just started paying my first. So
I still got more.
And so, man, my baby girl, man, she went up to Syracuse, man, and dropped her off. She's up there. She cried me for the first 2 or 3 days, crying, ready to come home, man. I was like, yo, you need to make it happen up there. In my mind, the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, come on back. I ain't got to pay like that. But, I wanted her to stick it out and do it. She got through her first week in doing things. What's funny, man, I always wanted my kids to come in IT and do things. So I got her to go and do data analytics and things from that perspective. And she was like, Dad, I ain't going to be in IT. I ain't going to be in IT. One of her first classes was Python and data analytics. And I was like, yeah, baby, you never going to go into IT. I understand. You don't want that. She just, it's like, I love it. You just keep doing what you do, baby. We don't do that over here.
Wow.
But it's been good. What's really cool about that, the people in the channel has gotten a chance to see her grow up and evolve into the young lady she is. So she got a huge support. And that's what I love about the channel, man, is they've given her much love and support and say, hey, you might be in Texas, but I'm up here in New York. I'm 2 hours or 50 minutes or 30 minutes away. I can get to her. I'm like, that's what's up. I like it. And kind of how it goes. And on the business side, man, it's been one of those things during the summer and just hunkering down to always look into process improvement, always getting better. And for us, that's been really looking at, laying down our contracts inside of our PSA, making sure they're nailed down and doing things. We've done some billing automation, with a partner that allows us to reconcile our bills pretty quickly and cut down that time to make sure that we're charging what we need to be charging for and making sure bills are accurate from those perspectives as we start to get ready to do those automatic price increases. So, it's hard to increase the price when your bills are wrong, right? So you got to make sure you're good from that perspective, and getting your contracts and things in order has been really where we've been spending time. And then, obviously, as we go down that path, talking about the AI stuff, if you've been paying attention to what I've been putting out there, we've been spending a lot of time understanding where we want to do with AI, doing the internal for us. You might have heard about our AI internal agent. Her name is Cynthia. It's what we've designed. The team named her to basically help us on how we handle cases, how we handle email, how we handle handbook, and how we handle all of our internal processes. And she helps the team, go through that process, which we love. And then to follow up, how we handle people want to learn and get trained up on AI. And so we partnered up and started working on some things with AI certs, where we have a basic baseline AI training for anybody who wants to be entry level. And then anybody who is in a specific vertical, whether you're in healthcare, financial service, legal, construction, whatever it is, there's a specific AI training course for the industry verticals to help you understand how you leverage it, the gotchas, and where it goes from that perspective. Because we think that it starts with that true understanding and an education, and you kind of roll through that process so that you make sure that you put the right and proper guardrails up for AI in your business and those who use it. So been pretty busy, man, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think for what you said, right, is like, being able to create something that help educate from that experience that you had, right, and being able to give back and really focus on, like you said, because everyone here has been hearing these 3-letter acronyms for a while, is ICP, right, ideal client profile, and there's a difference between providing really great support and providing value to that business and helping them run their business, right? And so, being able to understand that industry, not only for what you've been supporting, but also being able to, if that's an industry you want to get into, really helping and try and figure out how to go into there. So that's awesome that not only are you leveraging that piece, but also, hey, how's AI affecting those industries and trying to focus on those pieces. I think that's just such a great eye opener for a lot of people, because for those that may be supporting industries for X amount of years, probably when they run through that, they're getting open their eyes on things they never even thought of, right?
100%.
You know, we ended up sponsoring a construction event not too long ago, and so one of the giveaway items was we did robo dogs, and so we did a robo dog there, and everyone's like, why am I gonna have a robo dog? I was like, would you rather go onto a construction site in that heat, or would you rather run around with that robo dog with the camera on it to perimeter the fence and everything like that to see what's going on, right? So you don't have a point in sight, figure out how it's going on from there. So everyone was about it, man. And so, you know, they right away, it was like, how big of this dog do you want to get? You want to get a little Chihuahua one and run it around from, you know, the office here and there?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go ahead and get one of them big, you know, dynamo dogs that they got there and worth that investment, right? So just being able to unlock that the possibility of things has been really going a long way for a lot of people. So that's awesome to hear what you got going on over there.
Yeah, and that's the cool part, man. I think we're all shift. I think the major shift that I see is we're really focused on the outcomes, is where it ultimately comes from, right? And that's where it's all about. We're able to show some real value, and that outcome is how we're forcing them to think how to make their business better, right? Some people think that RoboDog is a cool toy, but what you did was you say, hey, now I have something that doesn't get hurt, doesn't do whatever it is, can be out there doing things, capturing data. And then the cool part is that data science conversation is, once I have the data, now I can go back and analyze it to see how I can improve and get better, right? So it continues on. And that is nothing but an AI conversation. Because then it starts to click. It says, hold, if I can use that data to get better there, what other data can I use to get better in my business to move it forward? And that's where the conversations really start, is kind of pricking and getting that interest started. I love it. That's pretty cool.
That's what's up. Mr. Smith, what you got going on in your world since June?
Man, as Corey would say, man, an adventure this summer. I'll tell you, summer 2025 has been an adventure. I will say a couple of things. First, it started off as Corey was talking about his daughters entering Syracuse. My middle daughter, Kennedy, who actually edits these episodes, she graduated from Syracuse in May. So summer started out great, you know, so I want to give kudos to Kennedy. She'll be starting her new job in a couple of weeks. Thank God. You know, so it's summer, you know, went good. I still have, as Corey saying, you know, I do have my youngest child is going into her third, is a junior. Actually, we just dropped her off last week. Classes started this Monday as of this recording at George Washington. So she's in her third year. So technically, Corey, I have 4 more semesters of payments, and then I'm going to be officially retired from college payments.
Man, the struggle is real, brother. The struggle is real. I'm right there with
you. Yes, sir. So it's just been a little interesting, as you can see from my living room back here now, that you all have too. And I'm sure anybody who uses these backgrounds know it's not actually my living room. I've actually been working now a lot more from my office. So those who've watched these videos have seen me in my home office all the time with my Cowboys blanket on my couch. And I had built that office basically to podcast and to work comfortably. I've always had the office as well, but didn't spend as much time in it. So this summer I actually I had to spend more time in here to get actually work done. So I am now working on fixing things like, you know, the sound in this office, getting a better decor. So the next time you see me, we'll probably have some real things behind me as opposed to the blank wall. So I'm using that's why I'm using the virtual background right now. But I've spent, you know, as far as work goes, I've spent a lot of time, as a lot of, you know, I've been working on the CRM on the Go High Level side of things. I spent a lot of time in Go High Level working on a lot of the AI stuff they have there. Mainly just they have what's called an AI employee. And that whole goal really has been to help minimize or to, I guess the better way is to strengthen businesses on, you know, phone answering, on this is, you know, a whole bunch of things, like, you know, I'm drawing a blank right now, sorry, but just on getting their business running a little more smoothly. So I've been building out a lot of AI bots to do things like that. It's been successful. I've learned a lot. I've been dabbling in a whole bunch of AI, and I've said this plenty of times before. Even though I still think it's king, there's more to AI than Chat GPT. But I do think we end up measuring everything against Chat GPT. But I have spent a lot of time in about 6 to 8 different AIs this summer, and I've actually been enjoying it, and I've learned a lot, and I'm learning how to bring some of those things into my business. So I plan on for the fall and the winter to really crank that out. And as Corey was talking about the advantages of this, so I'm really been working on that. So I'm hoping that come January 2026, it'll be Rick, his crew, and his crew of bots that are working to make the business a little better. But that's really basically it. I want to take a quick minute to talk about today's sponsor, ScalePad Control Map, the only compliance platform built for MSPs. If you're being asked to lead on compliance but not sure where to start, or stuck in spreadsheets or juggling tools that weren't built for you, you're not alone. Most tools make compliance harder. Control Map was built to simplify, scale, and sell compliance as a service. Automated frameworks like SOC 2, HIPAA, and more, cutting the busy work, and gives you everything you need to go all the way to audit. Turn what used to feel overwhelming into a repeatable revenue-driving service. Most compliance tools create work. Control Map helps you build a business. Learn more at scalepad.com/unplugged.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive into a little bit more, because I'm sure everyone has heard everyone saying, hey, we've worked with AI, we're leveraging different AIs. I'm sure they're trying to figure out how to get into that. And maybe that might be another episode. We'll see how much time we have at the end, because I'm sure they're curious as to how you've built that. What tools have you used to build that? And then what's the process, right? And so that's been something where, for us here, we always talk about transparency and really providing that tangible value for you all, and making sure that you have that ability for that. So we'll make sure we touch base on that here at the later on the end. But I mean, for me, I think since June has been a very interesting transition. And I think this is the first time that we've been able to officially talk about it since being on site and PAX 8. But for those that don't know or have not listened to a couple other podcasts that I've appeared on, you may notice a different name underneath my name over there on here on the recording. So
I was wondering what that was.
But so quite crazily, so in June we made the announcement that I had sold a majority stake inside of ProdigyTeks. We are obviously based in Chicago, to a new global IT firm known as the MSP Owners Group. And so MSP Owners Group was founded by Juan Fernandez, and over at the Summit Holdings business. So Summit Holdings is the top. We released this past week on who the executive team are there. And then I'm now leading MSP Owners Group with another acquisition that we had just made, Cool Technology Group out of Houston. So my brother over there, Chris Cool, will be lending me the ability to help lead those folks down there in Houston, along with a few others that will be coming down here in the pipeline by the end of the year. And so that has been an interesting shift. And I think that for a lot of us who tune in, you hear M&A, and for our size audience, it's an afterthought of kind of mergers and acquisitions. We're not looking to get sold. We're not looking to acquire, but we try to provide, tangible information. As you know, this podcast has never really talked about mergers and acquisitions. It tended to be a very popular topic probably several years ago, that, in my opinion, kind of fell on deaf ears for some of our community members, because again, it wasn't really relevant to us, right? There wasn't really a good way. I think private equity was kind of coming in, consolidating, things of that nature. There were a lot of groups that were rolling up MSPs and things of that nature. So it's been an interesting time. And so a lot of people have asked me, did I sell? And why did I choose to move down that direction versus kind of keeping down to my own path? For me, I think there was a couple of things. One, You know, I have a great relationship with Juan Fernandez, who kind of took me under his wing over the last 7 years and really showed a lot of the things that had helped me scale and grow that I've been able to translate here onto the podcast and some of those details as well. When he does something with intention. And so with a lot of the things that are about to be announced and coming out soon, I wanted to be a part of it. Now, why he approached me to be CEO of MSP Owners Group took me aback. As you all know, you get one version of me, you know, so it's either people, you know, like me and have respect for me, or they have choice words for me, depending on who you talk to, right? I mean, I'm just very unapologetically myself. And, you know, Rick oftentimes has to reel me in on certain times when it comes to some of those things that I try to come on here on the air. And now Corey being able to help me kind of be my two sound of minds to make sure that I don't say something that I shouldn't be saying here. Which, if you ever want to tune into a Paco Unplugged, join our community group, because I tend to talk a lot of shit over there. But you know, for me, kind of how it was approached to me, because I feel like there was so much work left to do with ProdigyTeks and to scale and things of that nature. And so when I was approached to being CEO of this global IT firm, the question was why. And it wasn't so much on why pick me, but why is there a view that I could fill this box? And so how it was best explained to me is that we're in an industry where transactional leadership is translating to dollars. And transactional leadership, unfortunately, means that there's not a lot of care to the people that have provided them the value of what that business has led to. And so for me, I have built a lot of my career, especially in my workforce, and I think we can speak for all of us here, is on relationship leadership, which means that there's an investment in employee experience so that it can translate down to the client experience. And that's just from my history of learning what not to do when it comes to customer service, technical abilities, things of that nature, and translating that to my people. And so that apparently had been noticed. And so the goal is to replicate what we have done here across the globe. And so that's my mission. That'll be my new job, essentially. And so that's been a big transition over the last several weeks. You know, we're doing a lot of what you would think in an acquisition would go through. There's a lot of consolidation, right? We are working through on, you know, for us, all of our documentation was inside of our PSA. Now we're moving to IT Glue for our documentation platform and being able to consolidate all of our efforts in that way. And the pure purpose of that is you want to make a scalable process, right? And being able to remove yourself from a lot of those things. And if systems are not working, systems you may think are working, when you look at it in an overall picture, may not be working in the way that you assume that would work without your involvement with it. I think a lot of us tend to keep control on certain items. And it's for us to really look into our process and say, could this run without us in that a matter of time? And truly running without us. Like, you don't need a phone call to say, hey, I just want to make sure that you meant A instead of B. And they pressed a button, right? And so why I say all this is because for all of us who are doing this as our, you know, livelihood, and we're working forward and moving onto that piece, is how are your systems built, right? Could you take off and maybe you have a partnership with another MSP in town, or you have a good relationship with another technician, things of that nature, and could they take care of anything if, you know, something hit the fan over this long weekend, for example, and you're going out of town? Can that issue be addressed? Have you figured out how to take care of that? Is AI an opportunity for you to focus on some of those things? You know, do you need more people? You know, so those are things that are what we've looked into. A lot of consolidation, moving to how do I say this without throwing shade? We're moving to a more efficient technical support team. And we're being able to, you know, because again, as I mentioned to you all, the last 18 months have been very rough on the support side, just because of the vendors that we had hired just did not pan out the way that we were hoping for. And so, you know, that caused a lot of strain with our clients. I actually had to run through and try and save a client through someone else who, through osmosis, came to me and said, hey, I have this friend that's looking for IT services. Can I pass him your information? Turned out it was one of my clients. So, you know, that was a funny story on that whole situation. So there's been a lot of that going on where a lot of patience has been tested. You know, how do we move forward on this? So all of our clients have actually welcomed this change, and having the ability to promote within, right? So, you know, another question that had came to me is, will I be running ProdigyTeks still? In a sense, you know, I technically will be the co-CEO of all of these MSPs that we acquire, but essentially they're still going to operate in the way that they have. The big thing about how our motto is that for anyone who we're acquiring are those that want to stay and they want to get to what they want to do and they want to focus on how to provide success in a more efficient way. And we have those tools and ability to do so. So for those like that are either moving on to other components. So like, for example, my brother, Chris Cool down in Cool Technology Group, he's going to be heading over another business of ours and going to be our leasing and financing business that we have. So I will be working with essentially like my director of business success will ascend to kind of managing ProdigyTeks. And then I will help them out as seen fit. And then I will be doing the same thing for Cool Technology Group and then those that are moving forward. So yes, I'll have my hands in kind of a lot of these things, but my day-to-day will now be more focusing on how are they performing and how can I help in that in the same fashion that I've done here at MSP Unplugged, which is how do we help these MSPs get to that next level? There's a phrase that's been used internally is how do you throw the quarter in the machine and get the dollar out, right? So, which leads me to my next thing that had been asked of me is what's going on with MSP Unplugged? There seems to be a confusion with the acquisition. But I want to make sure that it's clear here and understanding that MSP Owners Group acquired ProdigyTeks. MSP Unplugged is a completely separate business. It is not under the wing of ProdigyTeks. When me and Jeff were running it, it was a separate business. I took over the assets. Me and Rick formed a new business out of it when he came on board. So it's completely separate. You know, MSP Owners Group has quote unquote no relation other than its host to what me, Rick, and Corey do on a podcast level, when we plan our events. These are completely separate entities. So for those that have of any concern, I can still talk the same way that I talk as I have in the past. So so that's kind of how that's kind of shaped up from here, and having the ability of not only going through this transition, which as all of you have heard me over the years, and I've explained this internally to everyone, I'm still going to be as transparent as possible. I'm going to tell them what we're doing. I'm going to tell them the tools that we're using. I'm going to tell them the processes that we're trying to build. And so because I've done that with ProdigyTeks, I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to build in transparency so that for those may be curious who's listening in to either maybe do something like this or be a part of something like this, they can see firsthand how that would work and if it's right for them. Because again, when you're tuning into us, we're not again, and Rick makes fun of me when I say this all the time, is opinions are not facts. And I hate when people talk opinions as if they are facts, right? Our opinions are just that. It's our personalities, it's our perspectives of how we see things and what we choose to say that's not for us. And it's up to you to decide what you want to take from this. You can say, you know what, Paco's full of crap, but I like what Rick is saying over there. Or, man, Corey's got it going on. I want to know what he's doing. I want to get on that bandwagon to see what's up. You know, that's why our three of us are here. We all have a different perspective. We have a different mentality. We have a different way of looking at things. And oftentimes you may find someone you attach to, which is why we do this podcast and why we do these events as well. So you can go ahead and pick our brain and talk to us some more. And we've had that blessing to be able to speak with a lot of MSPs in the space. So that long ramble, that's kind of what I have gone in the last now 3 months going into September. But yeah, that's just what we got going on. We got all kinds of things running on here. I'll tell you, the acquisition of a business is not for the faint of heart. But I will say that we are running through that process so that we can make it easier, so I can display what to expect on some of those things as well. So, but yeah, that's what I got on my side there.
The reason we exist is because you cannot stay ahead of all threats. It's impossible to detect every threat out there before it becomes an issue. So what we do is we block by default. And when you block everything by default, it really doesn't matter if it's known to be bad. If it's not on the list, it cannot run in your environment. And that is our core focus. Zero trust principles, block first, limit what applications can do. And the other stuff, yes, we chase the threats, we hunt the threats, we do everything else, but that's the backup. The core of ThreatLocker is zero trust. The team is the real part of it. Cyber heroes, we call them, and they range from everyone from the marketing department right through 24-hour, 365-day-a-year support to our clients, which is less than 30-second response time. We've got some of the most advanced threat intelligence team, advanced development teams in the world, and we're constantly hiring and growing that team. And that's what allows us to deliver the best service.
Mr. Rick, Mr. Kirkendoll, any opinions on what you got going on there, or filling in the piece?
No, man, that's actually good, man. I love the opportunity to hear what you got going on and see that transparency, because I think all of us are in that place where, you hear that consolidation in our market, whether it's vendors or MSPs, is happening, right? You got to understand, are you ready to go? I think a bigger conversation is how do you, what I think the listeners would love to understand is, if that's their exit strategy or what that looks like, what do they need to be doing regardless to get their house in order? And I think you could bring a lot of insight on what to do there, because there's a lot of FUD out there when it comes, right? There's a lot of people who look alike, sound alike, saying they're doing the same things, kind of figure out what it's owed to. Hey, is it private equity? Hey, is it MSPs funding other MSPs? Is it other? It's so much. But you got to find the right one for you. But the main thing that comes down to is that if I'm not ready and positioned to be acquired, it makes it very difficult to be acquired.
Yeah.
That's what I think it has to do. So no matter what's happening or what model, if you're not in a position to be that way, it's going to be very, very, very difficult. And I think, and hearing what you're looking for, what people look for when it comes down there. Is it contracts? Is it, your monthly recurring? Is it your EBITDA? Is it your goodwill? Is it your processes? Is it your people? What is it? And I think it's some of all of the above, but then I think you can say, here's the good, better, best, and things that you really need to be focusing on to go there. Kind of like what me and Rick kind of went through here. And last thing is selling a house, right? It's like, hey, I had to put the money on the things that's going to bring me the biggest value. Everything else, I'm good, right? I'm not putting in new carpet that ain't going to work for me. Paint on the walls. Yeah, it does great, but it's where am I going to put that value and where you need to do it? So I'm looking forward to hearing where you can share back and say, hey guys, this is what you need to be thinking about. No matter where you are in your journey, you need to be tracking down this path with some smart goals for sure.
Yep. When we get into our wow, why can't I think of our fourth quarter
living?
Thank you. Wow, that was yeah. So when we talk about fourth quarter living, I for sure go into that full detail, because I'll tell you, there was some learning lessons from there. Everyone thinks revenue is the number you're going to get, right? And then you hear throughout the space, oh, we're going to get X amount of multiples and things like that. And so, there's a way that this game is played, and there's a way that you understand how certain things are going through. Exactly like you said, some are done through EBITDA, some are done through revenue. Some, it depends on what you're doing in that acquisition. Are you selling your book of business? Are you being acquired as a full business as its own? Are you assuming a role in that new business? Are you taking on that business? How do you treat your debt inside of the business, and making sure that when you're going up for sale, how is that going to look and work? There's a lot of these things that, a lot of us who may think about doing it don't know about certain things. And so it's an ability to, as I talk to Rick a little bit, he's my sounding board sometimes when I hear this, and he's like, man, you don't understand how much blood they're trying to take this time. And so, it's amazing. But, I will say that the way that MSP Owners Group is doing it is a very different way than what private equity and some of the other acquisition models have been. So it's definitely warrants a conversation where those that are kind of tired of the same norm, there's different options that are out there, right? Not only just for us, but others that are out there. And so it'll be very interesting how this space evolves, as you mentioned, when consolidation and just new MSPs kind of coming to the fray and understanding what they need to leverage and how do they take on AI to scale in a way that a lot of us couldn't do in the last 5 to 10 years prior, right? So it's going to be definitely interesting for sure.
I think
You know, I know we're yeah, go ahead, Rick.
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting. We're talking about acquisition and people moving on, moving from their business, and I understand that the way MSP Owners Group is doing is a little different, but I'm still thinking about the fact that you have, for as many people as we think are consolidating and leaving the business, there's just as many people coming into the business. And it's just funny how, we've talked about on our tour, we've met a lot of people who have just starting. They're a year or 2 years or, 6 months, or Paco and I talked to someone who was like, I'm trying to figure out if I should start an MSP. You know what I mean? If I really should do this now. And it's just, it's all those different perspectives of where we are. So it's so much more to learn than I think when we first started this thing. But I wanted to do this real quick while we've talked a lot about where we've been. For MSP Unplugged itself, I wanted to talk a little bit about where we're going, right? And I think this is important, as Paco talked about, as he makes the transition, and we're all making transitions, but as he makes this transition from ProdigyTeks to MSP Owners Group, and knowing that MSP Unplugged is a totally separate entity, what we're doing here, some of the things I just want to talk about to make sure everyone knows, we really are, as you know, we are very MSP focused and trying to help everyone grow. We will be putting out, we will be interviewing a lot more MSPs, right? We want to get, and we want to extend that invitation continuously out to anyone who wants to come on the show. If you're an MSP, to talk about your business, to talk about, maybe even you can answer some of these questions that Corey and Paco were just bringing up about, maybe you've been through this transition, or you're going through this transition, or thinking about it. But we do want to make sure that this channel continues to grow, and we continue to grow through input from everyone, right? Through input from all our brethren in the industry. So I do want to make sure that we say that, again, it's an open invitation to come onto the show, if to talk about your business, to maybe answer some questions, get some questions answered, however you want to see it. So I think that's important for us just to mention. A couple of other things. Well, no, I'll leave it there for now. And anything else?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of great abilities and things that we're doing. We are moving to a new community platform. We were on Patreon previously. As of September 1st, we will be sending a message out to everyone to join us over at Ko-fi or Coffee. I don't know how it's pronounced, but Ko-fi. But if you go to mspunplugged.com, that'll be the way that you can go ahead and either join our community or go ahead and support us. I know that for a lot of you who joined us on Patreon had been supporting us, and we thank you. But you may notice that we hadn't taken any of your donation or your support over the last maybe 12 to maybe 18 months, just because we wanted to ensure that we developed a great product for you. And so what we would love to do, and as we migrate to this platform, we're going to start really diving into a lot of the things that are inside there. You might see a new store in there. You might go ahead and see some new content.
Some swag.
Some swag. The promised TechCon Unplugged previous footage that we've been working on that platform. So there's going to be a lot more stuff that we're going to be building out there. But if you head over to mspunplugged.com, you may see that the website looks a little bit different than it did at the beginning of the year. You can catch all our latest episodes there. You'll see the coffee or Ko-fi link in the bottom. I'll find out the pronunciation so that we can make sure that gets right. And there's a lot of great more things coming as well. So we got, again, really this year was the investment in community. And that's why we changed the format of TechCon Unplugged, which in all reality, it really should have been the MSP Unplugged World Show, because we wanted to bring our show to you. We wanted to bring us to you. We wanted to be able to get new voices, new perspectives and personalities, and really just grow like-minded people, so that when we do get back together for TechCon Unplugged, we're going to have a new set of folks that are going to just hopefully benefit and ultimately give back, so that we can continue to keep not only creating leaders for ourselves, but those leaders creating other leaders. And that's really, truly the true form of success. Corey, anything to add on to that?
Nah, more to come, man. I think at the end of the day, man, we're in some exciting times, man. And, and I was reminded on a call I was just on that, some of the things that we do as MSPs, man, we're almost like superheroes. We go out and save the day, but we're those guys in the black suits that are sitting back and nobody really knows who we are, right? It's still amazing of how many people don't know what an MSP does and what it is. But I think it's also time that we'll probably talk about in our next quarter is sometimes you got to step back and give yourself a pat on the back, man, because what you do for your customers and these SMBs are huge. And I think it's an opportunity for us to give you a pat on the back and say, man, keep doing what you're doing because this is some hard stuff, right? But the impact that you're making is gigantic, right? And it's amazing out there that they wouldn't be able to function. I believe we are the lifeline of a lot of businesses out there, and we're that unsung hero. So we're gonna try to sing that song for you, man, as much as we can to bring you from the back. I mean, that's just where it is.
Yep.
Which is why we encourage you to come on the show, tell your story. You know what I mean? Because you never know the impact that what you bring or what you're doing could have on someone else and their business. So that is a big thing there. I'm going to keep pushing that every episode now is the invitations to come on the show. And also one other thing I'm going to, and I'll leave it here, is ideas and topics, right? If we're, Paco, Corey, and I, we come at this from our perspective, and usually we decide what our topics are based on what we're doing or what's going on in the industry, right? That's how we normally, unless there's someone on the show, but that's how we normally derive what we're going to talk about. So, it's obvious we don't know everything. We're not experiencing everything. So if you have something that you may want to talk about and you necessarily don't want to come on to talk about it, I know some people are camera shy, but drop us an email, info@mspunplugged.com, and say, hey, you guys think you might touch on this, or do you know anyone you could bring in to speak to X, Y, and Z? And that way, again, the whole thing is about us growing, right? And not us per se as the three of us, but the industry, the MSP Unplugged community. And what we're doing is we're relying on each other for support. You don't know how much Paco, Corey, and I have conversations outside of this show about other things that help to impact our business. And it's the same thing we're trying to get everyone to participate in. So I'll leave it there, but I'm just saying, if you please come on the show, you have a story to tell, even though you think you may not. And if you really, really, really are gun shy about coming on the show, drop us an email and say, hey, I'd like you guys to talk about this if you can, or, and we definitely will try to get that, if as long as we know enough, or we can find somebody who does know, we'll try to get that done for you.
Yep. No, absolutely. And then for those that, may not feel comfortable sending us an email as well, we will be sending out, for those of you who have subscribed to our newsletter or wanted to hear more about TechCon Unplugged or MSP Unplugged, we will be formalizing that list. We'll get a formal newsletter out for MSP Unplugged here soon, probably in the new year. But specifically before that new year comes, we'll send you an actual survey because, again, your feedback is important for us. So if you don't feel the comfortability of being able to tell us your feedback, the survey will hopefully be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be anonymous for that feedback, because that's going to be allowing us to understand how do we shape the show, how do we shape what we're doing for the new year. So that'll be going out to everyone who has ever subscribed to us. Again, we're going to go ahead and do two things. We're going to put in there, hey, do you still want to get the newsletter or communications from us so that we're not bothering you, obviously, because you may have subscribed many, many years ago when it was a completely different format with completely different faces. So we want to make sure that we still want to respect your time. And if you still mess with us and you rock with us still, we want to keep you on that newsletter, get that survey out to you, get your opinions so that we know what's going on. And again, if you want to be a guest, we would love to have you on to share that story as well. So with that, fellas, I think we can go ahead and round out this episode for today. I think we already gave us our lasting words. We're going to go ahead and close it out.
For sure.
All right, sounds good. Well, again, we want to thank you for tuning in. Tune in every week where you can catch us on the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you can be notified when a new episode is available. We normally drop on Tuesdays, But when you get that bell on there, you'll know exactly when we go ahead and drop. So you can be the first ones to go ahead and see what we're all about. You can also take us with you on the go. If you head over to mspunplugged.com, you'll see all of the podcatcher apps that we're available on. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, to name a few. And feel free to go ahead, subscribe, take a listen, because, you know, as Rick always says, he's got a face for radio. But if you move forward, we're going to go ahead. We look forward to you joining us on the podcast front. Or if you want to see us, we will be live again in Dallas over at TechCon Unplugged Dallas in Las Colinas and that Marriott. Head over to techconunplugged.com to get your ticket. And again, we got a lot of great opportunities, a lot of great value, and good things that we got coming forward and in the future for 2026. With that, from myself, Rick, and Corey, we thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.